I'm sorry, y'all. I have the giggles. I'm supposed to be starting the show. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kirsten Thompson, and I have two really special guests here in the studio today. Before I start the show, I want to ask everyone to please like and share this video. Just share it. You don't even have to know what we're doing yet. Just share it because it's going to be good. We want as many people to see it as possible. I also need to mention that we are VOD Pod Studios. VOD Pod Studios are very dope because we are a Black-owned studio space. We have Black and brown creators in this space, and we are in the heart of the east side of San Antonio. So, without further ado, I want to introduce our guest who came all the way from Dallas to be here. So, before I say anything else, gratitude. Thank you so much because I know that that is a trip. I've made that trip many times, and it's a trip. So we have Lonnie Mack.
Hello, hello.
And we have Moten.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, More Than Magic. And we have kind of a little bit of a tradition here at the show. We kind of touch on names because it is my belief that, you know, Black women, Black people in general, people don't always say our names correctly. And don't always honor them. So Lonnie, I know your name is kind of a androgynous or unisex name. You're Lonnie. How do people respond to you when you show up and you're Lonnie?
Yeah, a lot of people think I'm a dude at first. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were a girl." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a girl."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Part of it feels like, you know, I like people to kind of see, well, when I get there and through the film industry, for people to like to not really judge my work before, you know, seeing who I am and everything.
Right.
Like, okay, so it's Lonnie. And then they're like, oh, okay, it's a Black woman.
Yes,
I like it.
Well, and Lonnie Mack it's a strong name. So
like, a lot of people like to call me by my whole name. They're like, Lonnie Mack, Lonnie Mack.
It flows. It flows though.
So I'm just like, I'll take it.
There's a flow. And we have a special guest who came with you, your daughter. Do you want to introduce your daughter? This is a first here at More Than Magic.
You want to say your name?
Malia. We have Malia in the studio. So Malia is Lonnie's daughter, and this is a very family-friendly, like chill, relaxed place. So thank you for coming, Malia. You are literally the first guest that we've had that's been a child. So yay! And Maya. So what's the story of your name?
I was actually very blessed to have two wonderful and loving parents. And so my dad actually named me. So my full name is Maya Simone Moten, and he chose to name me after Maya Angelou and Nina Simone.
Two of the greats. Like, you can't really get much more divine. And in terms of being creators, like they were both creative geniuses. So
very much so.
Thank you for sharing that tidbit with us. So, you know, I emailed you all an outline with topics, and I just saw the light come on, and now my brain is pinging because you all both have done and do so much. So I think I'll start with introducing you all both as filmmakers. I think we'll start there.
Okay.
At what point in your life did you know that you wanted to make films?
You want to go first, or you go first?
So filmmaking was definitely not the first path of my life. Yes, I like to kind of think of myself as being a cat, how like cats have 9 lives.
Yes.
Yes, I feel like that is very much me, because growing up, I was all about science. Like, I actually wanted to be an astronaut. So I have an undergraduate degree in engineering. So
really?
This girl is intelligent, okay?
Yes, okay. But it's that right brain, left brain thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's fascinating.
And so I always say that even though I don't use my engineering degree in the traditional fashion, it definitely taught me how to think outside the box and be able to really like be creative and look for different solutions, project management, which now is appearing tenfold in like this filmmaking journey. But because of the fact that I knew I didn't want to do engineering, I actually did communications, and I actually worked for corporate America after I graduated college. And so what I really enjoy about that aspect is that it actually taught me how to learn how to communicate with people. And so I always say that like filmmaking was probably where I was always meant to be, because I can bring a lot of those skills that I learned in communications, being able to talk to people, being able to like work in groups, with the skills that I learned in engineering, like that project management, that strategy, to bring it to my filmmaking. And I've always enjoyed the arts. My sister's a professional dancer. She actually has her own dance company, and I always did theater. So filmmaking is not too far off the beaten path from me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah, I have 1,000 questions. This is really interesting. So Lonnie,
Yes.
we were saying earlier, like I knew you initially as a model.
Yep.
I remember seeing you in someone's portfolio and just thinking like, oh my goodness, she's gorgeous. And so that's when I started following you and your work. And then I've seen your progression from modeling to special effects makeup artist to filmmaking. So again, when did you know? Like when did the switch go off or the light bulb go off rather?
Yes. So I started modeling in Germany when I was stationed in Germany while I was in the Air Force.
Bless you.
Sorry.
Yes, bless you.
Apologies.
No, you're good. Bless you. Bless you. Yes.
It's like so rude.
It's okay.
Listen, you're
It's a natural body thing.
human and humans sneeze.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
So I started modeling in Germany with a company out there. Shout out to Upscale Uptown. And when I moved here to San Antonio, I just continued modeling and working with local photographers and everything like that. Then when I got out, I went to hair school, and like one of our classes was a special effects special class. And I was just like, wow, I fell in love immediately with doing the special effects. So, I started doing that for like photo shoots, and it's not a really big film town here. So I went from doing the special effects, and then I'm like, so modeling helped me with doing runway shows and stuff like that. So I realized after I did my very first acting gig, which was no one warned me how much it takes to be an actress. Yeah. But I realized being in front of the camera, I was like, man, I'm more interested in what's going on behind the camera. So with modeling, even with acting and stuff, I'm like, I like doing the behind the stuff. And they was like, but you need to be in front. I'm like, that's cool, but I like being behind.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people feel like it's okay to tell you what you need to do. Your heart and your soul know where you need to be.
Right,
right.
Mm-hmm.
And you also don't have to choose. You can have a primary focus that you're putting most of your energy to. But if you wanted to model again tomorrow and do something, you could easily. But you've chosen, what path you want to be on. So I know the name of your company, but if one of you would like to, I guess, introduce it and tell us what the goal or the mission or the focus of your work is. I love how y'all, this is great. It's so cute. You're like,
you're
smart.
It's like, no, you're smart too. Y'all are both smart. We have two very intelligent queens here. I know this.
Well, I can start with Soul Sync Media Productions is the name of our company. And when we started it, it was more so a means of, we're in school together, in film school. And so it's smarter to start a company with the people that you're growing and learning with.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of where we're at. We haven't officially launched yet because we're still in school and everything like that. But so we're still learning our niche and what we want to do. But it's interesting because we both learned through school what we want our personal, professional career niches to be, if you will.
Right.
So for me, I'm learning that I really like doing director of photography or cinematographer, like behind the camera, actually camera operating. And then for her, she wants to do more of the directing. So those two things go hand in hand.
It's like
and it's
symbiotic relationship.
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
And it was so beautiful because I'm like, I wanted to find a partner, someone that I could, be in a company with, and like the way our brains work. She has the corporate America background, and then I have the military background. So you put both of those together with the creative juices and just let them flow, and it's just like
it's a lot
amazing. Yes, it's just I love it. So the company is. We're still working on exactly what we want it to be. Right. If you want our true honesty, but yeah.
That's beautiful though, because sometimes people don't admit that. I think there's a lot of pressure in any endeavor, but especially with creatives, to have like this perfectly packaged, very neat product for people to consume. But you're in school, so it's important to. For the viewers to understand that, like 15 years from now, people will watch this and be like, oh my God, I just saw the movie in the theater. I remember this podcast when they were just starting out. It's very important to be just like honest about where we are in our journeys. So thank you for that, because I think that's actually, there's a lot of power in that. Everything you don't have to have everything figured out every step of the way. So now you said something before the interview, right before we started, Maya, and I was like, wait a minute. So you just casually mentioned that you did a TED Talk when you were in high school.
Yeah.
Before we talk about that, though, I really want our audience to know, and I usually never ask women their ages, but I think it's cool that you all already have such a specific idea of what you want to create in the world. So how old are you two?
Yeah, so I am 26 years old.
I love it.
32.
So we have these two young Black women.
Thank you.
But you are, and I say that with honor. Like sometimes people think youth is like not a good trait or characteristic. It's not even a characteristic. It's just where you are. But I think it's really cool that you're young and wanting to shape the world through your eye or through your lens. But I have to ask you about this TED Talk story that you so casually brought up. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So how did you give a TED Talk in high school? And is it related to your film work in any way? I'm curious.
No, but it actually kind of, in some ways, kind of shapes my way of thinking about life in general. And so I actually did it was part of a conference because they were looking for different speakers for this TEDx conference that they did in Mount Olive, New Jersey, because I'm originally from New Jersey.
East Coast girl, yes.
Born and raised. I rep it proudly, rep it strong.
Yes.
Been in Texas only for the last 4 years.
Oh, okay.
And so when I was in high school, like I said, they, our dean of students at the time was like, all right, we're looking for submissions, just apply, we'll pick whoever we select. And so I happened to be one of the lucky ones to be picked, me and my friend Teddy. And actually the TED Talk that I gave was all about risk taking, and it's like the advantages of risk taking and trying to convince people to, get out of doing like the safe risk, where it's like, all right, I kind of have an idea of like how this is going to turn out, so I'm going to take a risk and actually just leap into the unknown.
Right.
And so I think it kind of shapes the way I think about life, because even though I've always, like I said, I love the arts, I've done theater the majority of my life, I've always been an actor, leaving the safety of corporate America for this, to become a filmmaker, that was definitely all right, give it all to God, see what happens, and hopefully I'll be in safe hands. And he's definitely made a way. And I'm just really grateful for the support of my fiance and the rest of my family.
Well, as I was listening to you talk, I was going to ask you, there's all these ideas about what the American dream is, right? And one of those is you go to college, you land a great corporate job, you work there for, 44.2 years, and you have a house and a picket fence, all of that, and then you die. That's the way we're programmed, and it's really messed up, right? So when your friends and family learn that you were making that transition, I know you said your fiance was very encouraging and supportive, but how have both of you all dealt with just people around you supporting your journey? Because it's not typical at all, and it's not easy. So do you feel like people in your peer group, do they understand what you all are going to school for? Yes, they're going to make films, but do they get it?
I'll let you go first.
I think they'll get it when they start to see stuff. But when I tell strangers that, a lot of them, I get a lot of positive feedback. They're like, man, I'm so jealous because you're doing something that's creative. And they say, oh yeah, I have my 9-to-5 job. If I wish I could, so I feel very grateful for being able to do this and things like that, because I know that it's not, everyone can't do it. So I'm just grateful for my life.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. For me, it's times like this where I'm very grateful for my older sister. Yeah, because my older sister, like I mentioned earlier, she's a dancer, and her journey to becoming a dancer was kind of it was a little bit of a struggle, because our parents came from a generation where they did, like you said, expect the 9-to-5.
The straight path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have a job with benefits? How are those actually being put into play? And that's not to say that my parents are not supportive, because they're our biggest cheerleaders.
Right.
But again, I think of my sister and initially just kind of breaking that mold and saying I actually want to be a dancer. I want to be I want to do this for my living. And she, like I said, she has a dance company, COCA, so like the Company of Collaborative Artists. They're up in the tri-state area. And yeah, like I said, she kind of broke the mold where it was like okay to not do the, you know, traditional method. And so I'm very grateful to her, because my journey coming up and saying like, all right, so I know I did this, but this is not what I want to do, and I want to kind of be an artist and kind of do my own path. They were so much, they were so supportive of it.
Well, because when people hear engineer, that's one of those career paths that I think a lot of people, it's like, oh, if you're going to be successful, right? We're saying successful in air quotes, you know, become an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer. That's kind of like the big three, especially if you have immigrant parents. Shout out to all my immigrant community. Y'all already know. But I think I want to speak to what you were talking about earlier about having a certain skill set that helped you, because engineering is a very left brain activity. And then filmmaking, it's both. It's melding the left and the right brain. And then I didn't even know that you had a military background. So I just learned something new about you. So
I was in the military for 9 years. I did IT. That's actually, so I also have like project management background, and it helps me with producing a whole bunch.
Yeah.
So, and then it also helps like with like the technical stuff. But I try not to tell people that I know IT.
Because then they come to my computer won't turn on.
And I'm like, I don't know how to tell you.
It's like, you do computers.
Right? You know how to do. No, I don't.
Right.
She sneaks it. My fiance also works in IT, and so the two of them will have like their little IT conversations.
And
I'm like,
just like,
I have no idea what's happening, so y'all can just have that.
But it's interesting though, you know, filmmaking is very creative, and the process of like the conceptualization of ideas and taking them from your mind, where it's literally just, you know, energy, and then having a tactile, like a product, a visual product. You know, there's processes that happen along the way. And I'm curious if, and this is going to sound crazy, and I'm totally veering off the questions I sent you, but now that you were talking, I'm like, wait a minute, I have all these other questions.
Organic questions are great.
Do you like dream of ideas? Do you sketch them? Do you, where are your ideas stored? Because we can't keep everything here, right? Because your heads will explode. And I'm a creative, so I get it. I'm like, there's stuff everywhere. How do you come up with some of the concepts for what you see yourself doing in the future?
Yeah.
Like, are you methodical? Do you just dream? Or
so you go first. Yeah. So for me, I always find it's funny. I feel like I used to be a lot more creative as a kid, and like I'm trying to, and so now I'm trying to get back more in touch with some of those ideas. And so I'm really grateful for Lonnie, because we'll have these like think tank sessions where we'll actually kind of sit down and like start fleshing out ideas, or I'll be like, hey, what if we did something like this? And then she'll take that idea and like grow it 10 times more. And so I feel like it's great. I'm really grateful to have this partnership, because she really pushes me to kind of explore some of those creative areas that, you know, I might not have traditionally gone to. And she really she's really good at pushing the bounds and trying to get me to like think outside the box even more so.
Right.
Hurt you.
Hurt you too.
No, but I feel it. Like, I feel like there's a lot of respect between the two of you all. There's like a mutual admiration of one another. I can sense it. How would you say that Maya has like positively impacted you?
Man, what? It's crazy. I feel like one day she's gonna be like, can you stop texting me how much you're like, I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my soapbox moment, but I just have to let you know how grateful I am.
Yeah.
So like, you know, moving to Dallas, right? I don't have a lot of, you know, I moved there, I don't know a lot of people, and I met Maya, and she's probably literally the only female friend,
like
really,
real friend.
that I have.
Yeah.
But she's smarter than me, and when I say that, it's like she is smarter than me. She's brilliant. She's very talented, and she pushes me. She doesn't let me slack off or anything like that. You know, I'm like, hey, you feel like going to class? No, but we should go. I'm like, all right, fine. But also, I don't know. Maya is just so smart that she makes me feel, we have like this competitive, like this sisterly competition.
I love it.
That it makes me do a lot of self-reflection, honestly, because you have to be able to like have, you know, humility and be humble and like realize like, okay, I don't know this thing, but someone else does, and that's usually her. And it's like, you can't take it and feel like I can, how do you say, it's not like an envy or a jealousy type of feeling that you could easily get with someone when you're working with them, because it's like, okay, she knows all this stuff and I don't know it. But it's like, I don't think of it that way. I'm like, I don't know this, but I know she does, and I know her heart, and I know her intentions. And if I ask her for the help, she's like, I got you.
Yes.
And there's not like there's no like I'm better than or anything like that. It's like a genuine like relationship that we have. Sorry, I don't want to get emotional, y'all.
No, I'm listening, and I'm like,
I love her so much, and it's like I haven't like met someone where I can like be vulnerable and like be open like that and be like, you know, hey, I need your help, and it's just like straight love right there. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
it's crazy.
This is beautiful. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Like, wait, I want to ask.
I was like, okay, like I just got to tell that one. You know? 'Cause I tell you, she's honestly one of the best souls that I've ever had the pleasure and the privilege of meeting. Like, I think with our relationship, I think transparency and trust is like the key foundations. And I think that, like, you know, we've gotten, I would say we probably only had like one argument.
It happens.
And even then it's like, you know, the fact that we can be able to kind of come together, say like what's on our hearts, knowing like, you know, the other person's heart, it really makes working together and being friends so much easier, because it's like, no matter where any of us are coming from, like, doesn't matter like the circumstance of like when we're working together or just hanging out, it's just, you know, like I said, there's just such a genuineness there that comes with being, you know, being with Lonnie. And so I really am just so appreciative of it, not even just like I said from a working standpoint, but just like from a friendship standpoint, because no matter what, like, I can just appreciate the fact that if we're working on a project, even if it's my idea or it's Lonnie's idea, she puts 110% into it. And so, like, you know, like I said, if I come up with an idea, she's like, this is now like my project too. Like, I'm gonna treat it like this is something that I created, because of the fact that, like, you know, I can recognize how important it is to you. And so I appreciate having someone that's, you know, gonna have my back no matter what. It doesn't matter, like I said, what we're going into. I just know that she's always gonna be there.
So I am like such an emotional person.
Me too, girl.
And I'm listening to you both speak so highly of one another. And I just have to say to you both, this is why I agreed to do this show. Because originally, our producer will tell you, I had no interest in hosting a podcast or being on camera at all. Like you, I was like, I want to be behind the scenes. But one of the things that I know for sure that we experience in the world as Black women is the narrative that we can't get along. It's the narrative that we have to be petty, that we have to have jealousy, that we have to be fighting, and that we're not building together, you know. And I'm seeing an example like right in front of me, and I do see it, you know, in the world that I'm in, that I choose to create for myself. But it's just wonderful to talk to two young Black women and hear you edify one another that way. You have so much respect and like real love for one another. I can feel that it's palpable. So I just thank you for bringing that to the conversation, because I think people need to hear that and need to see it. Okay, I'm okay now. It's just like, this is so beautiful. But yeah, we need more of this in the world. So how did you make the leap from, you know, let me back up because I have 1,000 questions moving around. So how did you decide to actually go to film school? Because you had an engineering degree, which is a lot of work. And I'm sure that starting school again was something completely different. You know, there was a process. And I know you were doing makeup and modeling. So if you don't mind, I'd love to know what film school you're going to, if that's okay. I don't know if, do you not want to mention it? Okay, scratch. No. Well, no, because, you know, sometimes there's people watching that might be like, I didn't know there was a film school in Texas. But if you don't want to mention it, we can just skip it. Redacted.
Oh God.
Okay, so we don't have to mention the school because I'm very, like, I don't want everybody knowing my business either. But what was the process to apply to film school? Maybe that's the best question for you to ask, because I'm sure that there's different parameters and requirements to be accepted. So what did that process look like?
It wasn't really that hard, to be honest with you. They for the MPP program, the motion picture making program, whatever it's called. You just have to do a computer test to make sure you're competent on a computer, and was it an essay or interview? I think it was an interview.
Interview too.
Yeah, and then I just used my military benefits, my vocational rehab. So outside of that, it's not really that much. I don't know.
I'm on financial aid, so because one thing that I told myself when taking this leap, I was like, I want to make sure that I'm paying for it for myself, you know, just because I'm like, I don't know what's going to come out of this. And like I said, I could never, like, looking at me about like a year ago, I never could have imagined where we would be today.
Right.
And so I was like, you know, this is going to be a change. This is going to be a leap. Like, I am leaving the stability and comfort of corporate America for this. So I was like, I want to make sure that if anything goes wrong, this is my own mistake. This is my own like decision to do. So I am on financial aid. They offered a very generous financial aid package, and I've been able to afford going to school too.
No, that's wonderful. And thank you for sharing that, because these are the types of barriers that sometimes keep people from dreaming, right? It's like, oh, I want to become a ballerina, but I can't go to school, or I want to become a filmmaker, or I want to, you know, direct music videos. And what I'm understanding in our communities, again, specifically, we're already told, you know, you can't do this. This is too big for you. And a lot of times the financial portion is a part of that. So it's good to know, with you being a veteran, happy belated Veterans Day, by the way.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for sharing that with us. I was just curious. And I think people need to know, like, there's always a way. Like, if you have a dream, find a way to go after it. Like, you almost have a duty to. So if you could just be like really like wild and fantastical with your ideas, right? What would be, when you're graduated and let's say you have unlimited funding, right? Because it's good to dream. I believe in the energy of spoken word, like to put things into the universe. So what would be your dream project? Because you never know who might be watching this. You just never know.
That's true.
Dang. So for me, one of my like main idols is Jordan Peele. I would love to work with like the type of films that I do.
He's so dark and subversive. I love it.
But I love it. Though.
I love it.
Love him. So Monkey Paw Productions. Hey.
Wait, but are you a Scorpio too?
No, I'm a Cancer. So I cry
water
all the time.
babies. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yep, that's mine.
So you would like to direct a film with him, or like co-direct or co-produce?
Yeah. Something, yeah,
Okay.
I would like to, something like that. I definitely would love to be able to film overseas, because I was stationed in Germany for 2.5 years, and I was able to travel a lot over there, and it's just beautiful, you know. I just love it, and I just would love to do that. So bad. So one day
It will be
able to fly everybody out. Let's go to Paris. We're making a movie. You know?
It's coming.
I hope
It's
so.
coming.
Yeah.
What's your larger than life dream project?
So for me, I am definitely getting myself rooted here in Texas with my family. I'm starting to build my own family, and I would love to be able to like travel and for my work, because one thing, there's a director that I work quite closely with right now, and I can admire the fact that, like, even though she's got her home base, she's traveled all over the world. Like, she's been in Iceland, she's gone overseas to Europe and Africa, and just for her work, she's just been able to like contract work, and like someone flies her out and then takes her back home. And so I think to be able to travel the world, even bring my family with me to see the world while working, I think that would be my larger than life idea.
That's. Are you all familiar with Yaki Smith? So he is from San Antonio native. He is the dean of the Moody School of like Film and Communication at UT. And it's interesting, I worked on a film with him, like doing wardrobe, costume, and you know, the first film that he ever did, I'm still blown away by this, was on his iPhone, right?
Oh yeah.
And he won awards, and this film was like at film festivals, and his career kind of started, you know, that way. So I'm curious what you all think about the different types of filming and social media and what technology is allowing people to do? Are you wanting to do film in the traditional ways, or are you all kind of open to some of these other ways that technology has opened? Because now with social media, it's like you could do so much that wasn't really available before.
Yeah.
I think for me, I want to tell stories that have a message to them, and I'm a little bit older, I guess, because
You are not.
I mean, my kids are like telling me, "Oh yeah, this is how you do this on TikTok, Mom." So like for me, I'm like, I know that it's important,
Right.
and I definitely want to learn it and everything like that. But I definitely want to stick to. I love documentaries, and I like to tell stories. There is a dream project that I do have. I don't know if I should say it.
Go with your gut. Gut is God.
Well, there is a no. I don't want to. I don't. No, I'm not going to say it yet.
Yeah.
But there is a dream project. There is
Yeah.
a one that I really, really, really want to work on, and we are going to start next year, hopefully, pre-production. But yeah, technology. I'm trying. I'm more so like I want an old typewriter. I want like a record player. Like I'm that person.
Retrograding.
Yeah, that's kind of. I get it. It's the water sign.
Yeah.
I get it. No, I get it. And so I'm taking it. You're kind of like on the other end of. I saw the little glance. Is this a conversation y'all have had before?
No.
Not really. Oh, okay.
so.
Okay.
I knew about her typewriter ambitions.
I will have one.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm definitely open. I think that the world is ever changing. I think one day we'll be having movies that are made out of holograms.
Seriously. Yeah.
And-
Seriously.
Yeah. And I think as I said, as media develops, I think it just gives us ways to connect with people in different forms and fashions. Like what people were interested in doing 10 years ago is different than what we're interested in doing today, which is going to be different than 10 years from now.
Absolutely.
And so I think that for me, just figuring out different ways that you can connect with people, be able to share your stories, be able to hear other people's ideas. I think that that's what's really important. So I don't know.
It's more the message than the medium.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So then what did you, or how did you come up with the name? Because it's Soul Synced and it's SYNC''D. What was the inspiration for the name of your company?
So, man, sitting there trying to figure out a name for hours. I think it was,
I feel like it was your idea.
Yeah, I think it was mine eventually. Everyone was like, yeah, that's it. So I know that the content surrounding it was we wanted to build a sense of community and togetherness. And so like we feel everyone has like their own individual production companies, right? Every individual person. And we're just like, man, if we can all work together and let's say this person has their company and they got an idea. Okay, well, you got a whole crew. You got people here. We're all a part of the same thing. So we said Soul Synced because it's more than just creating a movie. We're creating magic, and we're trying to do that in a family type of environment. So, man, that's it for me, you know.
Yeah,
so we're connected through our souls because that's where our ideas are from. That's where our movie, everything like that. So we're connecting, syncing.
Yeah, that's dope. I love that.
Mic drop.
So
I know, mic drop.
no, do y'all have T-shirts yet? No. See, every episode, a guest will say something, and I'm like, that needs to be on it, like Soul Synced mic drop. That's a T-shirt. I'm just saying. So yeah, no, really, I'm like, But okay, so one of the questions that I really wanted to ask the both of you is, obviously, we're Black women, and the film industry is not at all dominated by Black women, nor is there like a really large presence. So what does it mean for you personally to know that you are going to go forward and create and tell stories from your unique perspective? Like, what does that mean to you, or how significant is that to you? Is that something you think about? Like, is it like a 24/7 thing? Because I probably would be obsessed if that was.
You start.
Okay.
I'll add on.
I think for me, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a path, and I look at the people who are doing like Issa Rae. Oh my gosh, shout out to you. I love her so much. But she is one of the people that's like, okay, she makes great, dope content, right? And I'm just like, wow. And I listened to her story when she first started, and all the stuff that she tried to do and it failed, but she kept going, and those stories like that from other Black women help. I'm like, okay, this can be done. So the people who have paved the way, it makes it a lot easier. But just to know that I'm going to be on that same path and trying to help. I mean, I don't know too many Black female filmmakers that DP or are camera operators. And then on the other side of that, just being a woman, period, in the film industry when it's majority white male is another like obstacle all in itself. So that's why I like the Lonnie title.
Right.
Going there. But yeah, I think it's very important. It's needed, and I want other people to know that it can be done, and I'm excited for this journey. It is definitely scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's very scary. You have to be vulnerable. You have to show humility and be humble. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Just for the record, I love Issa Rae too, and part of the reason why we have these lights is because people would always share like stills or something from.
I feel like I know where you're going.
Yeah, and I told our producer, I was like, if we're gonna do this show, I want lighting that's like warm and moody, like on Insecure.
Yes, I knew it. I'm like, it reminded me of it. Yes! I was like, this is very Insecure, and I love it.
I'm like the we have very prominent features. I want the light to like wash over our faces as we're sharing with one another, and I want it to feel warm and not just have everything just be like white light. So thank you to our producer Gylan for acquiring special lighting. But she also said something that is very powerful, and I think you touched on it, Maya, or it's in tandem with what she said. You spoke of creating with people around you while you're in school, and I remember watching an interview, and she said a lot of people, when you're creatives, you have a tendency to want to get your work seen by like, oh, I've got to get this famous person to acknowledge me, or I've got to get my product or my work to the. What she said is you should build and work with the people around you. And that's literally what you all are doing. Like, you're not waiting to be discovered. You're not waiting for, some aha moment from some person to acknowledge you. You're literally creating and learning as you go. And I think there's a certain power. There's like a power and magic to that, because when you make it, like, you've already made it, right? Because you're living something that you're passionate about. But when you make it, you can look back and say, wow, I really love these people. I really respect these people. So that's Issa Rae, wherever you are, we love you, girl.
Yeah, we love you.
I think I reference her like every few shows. I'm like, she said this or she did this, but yeah, she's. What's that?
I said praise Issa.
Yes, yeah, no, she's really amazing. But I firmly believe it. Like, I'm listening to you all, and I can see, like, 10, 15 years from now, or whenever, maybe sooner. It could be 5 years from now, someone being like, oh yeah, did you see that latest, Lonnie and Maya? I can see that. I can see that. It's coming. So you're from New Jersey originally. Lonnie, you're not natively Texan, are you?
Oh no.
Where are you from
I'm
originally?
From Florida, Duval County.
Okay. So that's something I want to talk about too, because I'm sure when both of you got here, because you're both, Florida's east, it's south, but it's still East Coast. I consider it East Coast. Like, was there like major culture shock? Because Texas is very different.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so different. Yeah, I remember moving down here because I moved in 2018 right after college. Yeah, I moved for my job, and I was only planning on staying for 2 years because it was like a 2-year program, and then you could make the decision to move back to their office in New York or stay with their headquarters down here in Dallas.
Okay.
So I was like, I could do 2 years in Texas and then go home and be with my family on the East Coast.
Right.
Well, I met my now fiance, Nick, at the time. And so I was like, so moving back to Jersey seemed a little like less likely to happen. Right. But like I said, it was definitely a culture shock. And I remember those first few months, they were so difficult because my whole family like lives on the East Coast. They may not all be in Jersey, but they're up and down the East Coast. Or like I said, I had like one aunt that lives in, that used to live in Arizona. I think she also just moved back to the East Coast. So
it's
again,
like a gravitational pull.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so those first few months were just very difficult. It was like very lonely, trying to like adjust to a new place, trying to really find my footing. And so I'm grateful that I met Nick when I did, because he was probably like my first real friend here in Dallas.
Right. Oh, wow. That's beautiful, though.
It is.
And, you know, that East Coast connection might actually be really good for, you know, your filmmaking careers, your future filmmaking careers, because there's a lot of energy that happens in that, you know, that area. And so then I knew you weren't originally from Texas. I just didn't know if I knew exactly where. How was your experience coming here?
It was not that bad, because when I turned 18, that's right when I joined the Air Force. So like right after high school, and then my family are pilots. Like all my dad and my uncles and my grandpa, they're all pilots. So we're used to traveling a lot.
Right.
And then like I was deployed to Dubai for 6 months, and then I was stationed in Germany for 2.5 years. So I was able to travel a lot. So going from Germany and then coming to San Antonio, huge culture shock. But when we moved to Dallas, man, I
feel like you're
Dallas.
just flourishing in Dallas.
Yes, I'm like, oh, it's magic to me. Every time, okay, so like I said, I'm a Cancer. I will be driving downtown at night past like the city, and I'm just like tears in my eyes. I'm just like always just like, I'm here in this beautiful city with these beautiful people, because everyone's so nice and everything like that. So it wasn't a bad shock. It was a good, like, oh wow, life is amazing type of thing.
Right.
I love Dallas. I love Texas. I don't.
I already know what. Listen,
yeah,
I already
you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
We can say it.
Let me go back.
No, we can say it.
Well,
if you want to, we've had all kinds of discussions on this show, and living in Texas does present itself with a certain set of challenges.
Yes.
And being Black women,
Yes.
those challenges are compounded in a very unique way. There we go.
Yeah. You guys know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But other than that, it is it can be decent.
Yeah.
But I do feel like out of the cities in Texas, Dallas is one of the more like cosmopolitan, and it's a little bit more. It's like a true metropolis. San Antonio's kind of like laid back and sleepy. And Austin used to be, you're laughing, you're like, well, I know coming from Jersey, you're like, woo.
No, I always laugh because I'm always like, and no shade, although it's going to be entirely
shade,
all
no
that
shade.
came out of my mouth.
Anytime someone says no shade, shade is definitely coming.
I always laugh because I'm like, Dallas now. I love Dallas now. And I always laugh because it's like, oh, we live in the city. It's a big city. And like, you know, people tell me like they might live in like, it's one of the city suburbs. And I'm like, it's so tiny.
Yeah.
Like there's one little like neighborhood.
Right.
I'm like, and they're like, well, you're from the East Coast. You're used to like cities like New York where it's just sprawling buildings. Because again, I'm like, Dallas spreads out and it's mostly suburbs. And I'm like, how is this a city again?
But that's, you know, that's very unique to Texas, I think. We're full of suburbs. Like even where I used to, well, I've moved twice in the last few years, but I would tell people I live in San Antonio, but it was technically like between Cibolo and New Braunfels. But if you're in Texas, it's all San Antonio.
Yeah. I try to tell Dallas people that all the time. Dallas, it was like Grand Prairie and Arlington. They're like, no, I live in Arlington. That's not Dallas. I'm like, it's totally Dallas. Like, I mean, I don't.
Right.
Same area. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and you have to. So did you drive before you moved here?
Yes.
Okay, so you are, because I know a lot of people on the East Coast too. I mean, I have a lot of friends there, and it's like in Texas, you kind of have to drive everywhere. But when you come from like the tri-state area specifically, you don't really have to. You know, you can just use public transportation. So I was just curious if that was, but you were already driving.
Yeah,
so it wasn't
I was a driver.
Okay.
I live more in the central New Jersey, so Somerset.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's where I grew up, like right off of Rutgers main campus.
I know exactly where that is.
And so we drove plenty of times. But again, like you said, it was nothing to hop on a train and go up to New York or like hang out in Philly or something like that.
Yeah, I've done that too, the Philly to New York, a lot of times. It's like one of my favorite short trips. So I know that you all, you know, thank you again for coming from Dallas to San Antonio. And I know that you're going to be here till tomorrow. Are you all going to do any, like, anything creative for, like, the public? No, you're chilling.
We're going to go see Black Panther tonight.
Yes. So I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I've heard great reviews, though.
Yeah.
I'm almost afraid to see it because I'm going to cry.
Oh,
the entire
I
time.
know that I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
I already know.
I'm crying for Chadwick, the person. I'm crying for the actual character.
I read a couple of things, and everybody is like, she said she couldn't stop crying the entire
Yeah,
time.
I'm almost afraid to see it. So I have to prepare myself.
We'll bring tissues.
Yeah, so I'm just going to prepare myself. Maybe I'll run into you all tonight. I don't know. But so what do you, Lonnie? Because I notice every time I ask, this is the cutest thing. Y'all are like, it's like double Dutch. Like, okay, do I go? So I'll ask you first specifically, Lonnie. Like, ultimately, I know you said you really like documentaries. Where do you see your work in terms of like, do you want it on TV? Do you want to make documentary films for the big screen in movie theaters? Because when you say documentaries, there's different types, I guess you could say. What do you see yourself doing?
I like documentaries, but that's not like my passion. Mine is horror. So mine is like, okay, so before I started film school, right, I love horror movies. I'm like, everything's scary.
Yes.
Yeah. Then you go into film school and they're like, horror's trash. That's not a good story, like, because it's just
I don't agree with that.
But
I love horror too.
I understand why they're saying that, because there's like a story arc and everything like that.
Of course.
Certain, so I've been learning that, and it's just really, it's really nice to see. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I have a child. It's fine. Like,
yes.
A lot of our guests have babies. It's fine.
She's awesome.
Yes.
But I like to. Well, what I want to do is make psychological thrillers.
So the Jordan Peele. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's not a famous female horror. Like, there's not a female Alfred Hitchcock or a female. You know what I mean? And so I kind of want that spot. So I'm trying to. That's where I want to go towards. We're gonna get to that spot.
I actually need to connect you with something. I have to shout out. I know this brilliant woman. All of my friends are brilliant women. But shout out to Dr. Kenitra Brooks. So at UTSA here in San Antonio, years ago, Dr. Kenitra Brooks was an English professor. But what she did in her work was so amazing, because she would use horror works instead of traditional, American classic literature. And she's also sort of famous. One of her claims to fame is that she did a whole, what do you call it when you, I hate when this happens. Not a synopsis. When you start a class at the beginning and your syllabus. Thank you. My brain just went like, so her whole syllabus was based on the work of Beyonce and the Lemonade Reader. But there's horror themes throughout Beyonce's work. Like, if people really pay attention, like the visual. But I have to connect you two, because she is a horror scholar.
Oh, nice.
And she's brilliant. So I'm going to make sure I do that after the show, because I think that might be a good connection for you to have.
Between the horror and the reading, you're going to just blow her mind.
Yeah. No, I just thought of that. And I like to connect people. So then I guess the same question for you.
I know.
No, but I think this is really important for people to see, because you can be opposite and still form really strong bonds with people. You can be opposite and still create with people. And I just think that's like how the universe works. Like, everything can't be static. Like, there has to be like a push and pull. There has to be tension, like good tension. Like, there's creative tension. So you might come up with an idea that you would never think of, and you can literally pull it in a way that you would process differently. So I'm curious, like, what do you see? Because when I think of film, and maybe I should just ask you, maybe you can educate our audience. When you say a film producer or a film director, what actually are the duties of that title? That's probably that's what we need to get into. That's the nitty gritty. Because I'm sure people think like, oh, you just say action and then magic happens.
No, there's so much more.
Yes. So what is
directing is a skill and a training, and I'm still learning every single day. Yeah. No, I mean, because when it comes to directing, it's it's a delicate balance, because it's like you're basically kind of guarding and shaping the story that is being told, because they say like a film is written 3 times. Once when it's written by the writer, the screenwriter, once when it's written by the director, and like it's actually on set and they're like directing how, you know, we're going to tell it, like bring it to life. And then lastly, when it's written by the editor in like the actual cutting process, because when you get the final film like from an editor, it may be slightly different than what the director envisioned, which might be slightly different than how the screenwriter initially envisioned. So with directing, like I said, you're really trying to convey the story in like the best way you can. So you're making a lot of like the different executive decisions of like, all right, instead this actor's going to move this way, instead this is the type of look or like the type of feeling that I want from this shot. You know, it's really important to me that we are seeing these two actors and understanding their emotional state. So, you know, Mr. or Miss cinematographer in this case, it's like, can you actually kind of stage the camera right here? And the cinematographer's duty then is to kind of bring the director's vision to life through using whichever skills and techniques that they will that will capture the director's vision. And then what a producer will do instead is the producer actually is like the logistical brains behind the operation, in the sense that like, all right, like let's figure out the scheduling, let's figure out like how much money we're going to actually need to be able to finance this film. The producer might do some of the initial hirings of like, all right, we're going to pick which director we want to use. They might like pick out the cinematographer as well. And then, like I said, kind of really get the initial bare bone structure up and off the ground.
And then for the director of photography, it's literally like it's a very important relationship, the director of photography and the director, because like she said, I'm literally bringing her vision to life, and it's important, which I'm glad we had the class that we had recently. We had a guest speaker, and she asked about, what did we ask about again? About the know your role thing. Basically, because we're friends and we have a business together, and we're also doing the DP and director, which is separate from the business. It's like a lot of hats that we wear. And he said it's very important to realize that I could be talking from a friend and she could be talking from a business. And so it's very important to, you know, keep that in mind, and also to know your role. I think it's important that the director is the one in charge, period, on set. Like, that's the one that everyone answers to, at least the cast. And so being able to lead, but also being able to follow, it makes you a good leader and everything like that. So usually when I produce, I'm the one that's like, okay, I'm hiring people, you got to do this, I'm telling people what to do. But then we're on set, like, she's in charge. And so I'm making sure that, you know, whatever she needs, you know, that's what we're getting done and everything like that. So, but then the director of photography, which I am very excited to like start really learning, is not just operating a camera. It's being able to see shots and being able, like, once you really understand that every single frame in a film means something a lot deeper than it's a lot of subtext to it. Man, DPing is just like a beautiful thing, because I already walk through life, like, if I'm out with people,
that's how you see the world.
Exactly. I'm never on my phone. If it's a bunch of people and we're out, I'm never on my phone. I'm always like looking at my environment. I'm always listening. I'm just so like in the moment, and I just love that being able to like DP is like looking at a frame and being like, okay, how can we show this guy's emotion based off of just a camera angle, or based off of how we're going to move the camera, or whatever we're going to do. It's so much motivation behind every single thing in a film has a reason why it's being done. And some people catch on, some people don't. But I just think it's so cool, man. It's like you're building a puzzle for the audience, and it's like, all right, what did you get from that? And then they'll say something completely different than what you imagine. But it's like, that's
but
cool.
That's art.
Exactly. I'm like, that's cool. I like that. But
that wasn't what was going on in my head.
But it's okay though, because it's you know, that's your way of interpreting it, and I love that it's, you know, left up to the audience to spring.
And then one thing I'll also say too that Lonnie left out is that, as she said, the director of photography, the key word to note is also director, because she is a director too. And so, like, you know, even though as a director I'm in charge of the actors, she's in charge of the crew. So the crew is really like, you know, so if Lonnie's got a shot that she wants to envision, she's getting the people that are, like said, laying down the tracks. If we're like going to be doing a moving shot, she's getting the lighting to be exactly how it needs to be. And so as much as I'm talking to the actors, Lonnie's
She's
talking to the crew. And so if anyone, one of the things our teachers told us is like, if an actor comes up to Lonnie and it's like, hey, what do you think about this? It's like, go talk to your director. If a crew member comes up and it's like, hey, what do you think about this? I say, go talk to your director. And so
it's always a chain of command and hierarchy on sets.
Exactly. And so like, you know, I think you like I said, you really need to have someone that you can trust, because even if, like I said, this is my vision that I'm bringing to life, like Lonnie's the one that really sees that it's executed properly.
Right.
So
it's like y'all are sharing eyes in a way. And it's funny because you said that the person that spoke to your class said, know your role. It's funny because normally when people say know your role, it's like a negative connotation, but it's actually a way to maintain respect and ensure that the creative vision is manifest. So have you ever had an issue where you just really don't see eye to eye on something? And then if you did, how did you work through that? Because like you said, you're both directors. And so just because we're human and we have different life experiences, there has to be, you know, some time where you just maybe don't quite see eye to eye. What is your process for working through that together?
I think we're like super open to each other. Like I don't think we really have that issue because we go into it already like well prepared and planned and kind of already know what we're doing.
Right.
So we do have that. It's like, okay, well, talk me through it. What's up?
Yeah.
And so we just listen to each other, and it's not really ever an issue.
Yeah.
And
That's
I think, like you said, the respect, and kind of going back to what I initially said about like the transparency and trust. It's like, even if we might come at it from like different angles, as Lonnie said, once you explain it, it's like, okay, like you know, even if I'm still trying to grasp it or something like that, I have enough trust in her to know that like, hey, Lonnie, like, if we just had to go with Lonnie's idea, it's like, I can believe and trust that it's going to actually pan out, and this is actually the best decision that needs to be made for the film.
But if she says, nope, we're not doing it, all right, director, because she's in charge, right? Well, I gave you my decision.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, I thought my producer was giving us a sign, but he's not. So I'm curious, like because, you know, you have your beautiful daughter here with you. And when you were asking, like, is it cool if she comes? I was like, absolutely, because I think it's powerful. Can I ask you a question? Do you mind? Do you want to come sit here and you can talk into the microphone so people can hear you? Because I heard, is that okay? I didn't even ask Mom if it was okay. So you can sit here. I'll scoot over. So I heard that you like to act. So what is your favorite thing about acting?
When I'm in the scene.
So you like to be the star? It's kind of cool. Okay, I respect that. And then what do you think about the work that your mom does when she's like making movies or making videos or taking pictures? Like, do you like seeing her do that? Yeah? How does it make you feel?
Happy.
Oh. Well, I don't know, I'm just guessing. I don't want to speak for your mom, but I think that it makes your mom happy too, to know that she's doing something that not everybody does, and then her daughter can look and see, and I think it makes her happy too. Yeah. Thank you. She's like, okay, I'm out. She's like, that's enough. Well, and that's what I wanted to say is that these kinds of conversations are so important because all of us have the capacity to inspire our family, our friends, just by following our heart and like following our dreams and our passions. When you were her age, what did you see yourself doing? And the same question for you. I know she's not your daughter, but still, we were all kids once, right?
Yeah.
What did you see yourself doing? Was it anything like this? Because, you know, you dream, like you want to be.
Yeah, so I wanted to say, when I was younger, I have a younger brother and sister, and so I'm the oldest of the three of us. And I used to write plays, and I used to make them do the plays with the family. I used to hate it.
So this is like.
Yeah, but I never thought to like, you know, go into film or anything like that. So as an adult, you know, it obviously makes sense because I had that creative juices when I was younger and everything like that. But I don't know. I always had like a knack for wanting to tell stories. And read. I love reading. I get a lot of my ideas from reading, from podcasts, from dreams. If it's okay, I stopped drinking alcohol in February, right?
Good for you.
Thank you. But when I drank, it made me stay asleep all throughout the night, right? And so when I stop drinking, I wake up at like 2-3 in the morning all the time, and I start writing. I have journals. I have so many journals, and I'm just writing ideas. I'm journaling regularly. I'm reading my old journals to make sure I'm staying on my path.
Yes.
And with that, when I wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, that's when I get a lot of my good ideas. And I'm like, thank you, ancestors.
I was
because
just about to say, girl, you're getting downloads.
Exactly. And I'm like, I cannot believe I've been blocking so much of them from, from that, all the years of drinking or whatever. I'm like, dang, I could have been a lot further ahead.
Yeah. But no, you were on your path, and things happen in, this is my least favorite part of the story. I mean, the interview, because we're like getting into it. But, I think it's easy sometimes to say, oh, I could have, should have, would have. But just, give yourself grace.
Grace, yes.
And give yourself, space to be proud of, you did make the decision. But as soon as you said you stopped drinking, I already know. I'm like, oh, she's waking up at probably 4 a.m. every morning with like ideas. And I think, too, that is something I feel that is very unique to the experience of being a Black woman or being a Black person. We all have different spiritual beliefs. We all have different religious beliefs. But I do think the connection to our ancestry, whether you want to say it's biological DNA that's helping us kind of come up with these ideas, or if it's like your ancestors in the room with you, whatever it is, I think that we have such a creative spirit, and I think that that's a huge it's really a huge part of it. Now, you said you wanted to be an astronaut.
Yes.
So I'm trying to see, I'm like, okay, astronaut, filmmaking, I'm trying to tie it together. When did you stop wanting to be an astronaut?
Right around the time I took my first engineering course.
Oh.
I was like, no.
You're like, that's cute. No, thank you.
But like I said, even though, and I think part of it was just as a kid, my dad and I used to always go out to our driveway and look at the stars through our telescope. Yeah. So it was a way to be connected to him. Like, he used to have like one of those little sliding like star charts that we'd be like, okay, and this is what's over the sky tonight. Right. But like I said, even though I love science, art, like I said, was always at the heart of me too, because I remember seeing my first Broadway show when I was about like 5 or 6 years old, and just being like caught up in the lights, and like I would do reenactment of soundtracks with like my little Barbie dolls and stuff like that. And I remember just like the first time I felt like, okay, I can do this too. Yeah. My sister, when she was in high school, she did the show Kiss Me Kate. Oh, probably like her.
Classic.
Yes. It's one of my favorites still. And I want to say she was probably like freshman or sophomore year. She was in the chorus, and we went and saw it, and she just brought me backstage. I remember seeing all like the lights and like the costumes and the vanities, and I was just like, wow. Yeah. So like I said, science was my heart, but I also always loved the arts too.
But I'm really glad to hear both of you speak about like the technical aspects of your backgrounds, because I really believe we live in a society that kind of does us a disservice by making the world of science and the world of art so disconnected. I think that when we were designed, it was in a very intelligent manner, and those things are supposed to work together. Like, the left half of our brain is supposed to communicate certain things to our right half, and vice versa. And you guys are living embodiment of that. Like, being in the Army and, wait, was it the Army? The Air Force. I was just going to say, wait a minute, you just said pilots and Germany. Wait a minute, I'm sorry, pardon me. It's okay. But being in the Air Force and having an IT background, most people wouldn't say like, oh, she's going to go make films, or, and then engineering, I think that you all are both, living representations and embodiments of what is possible when we just accept that, like, we're very big. We're big beings. We're not supposed to, make ourselves like, oh, I'm just an artist or just a scientist. There's no just, so you all are both. So I want to ask everyone, because we are running out of time, and I wish we could go on longer, but where can we follow you all and follow your journey on social media? Like, where can people go to find you and your work?
Yeah. So,
or don't follow yet. No.
No.
Okay.
So we are both. So as our company itself, we're building up our social media brand.
Okay.
But right now, I would recommend following us on our own personal pages.
Okay.
Because of the fact that that's where we post a lot of our film work and everything.
Okay.
And as we post there, we'll start tagging
Migrating
and
it
getting,
over to
Yeah,
And so this is
exactly.
on Instagram.
Yes.
Okay.
So for my Instagram, I believe it's mayasimone.1996.
Okay. All right.
And then for me, mine is Bleed Queen _SFXMUA.
Okay.
And if you go to my bio, there is a link on there for a movie that I actually just played. I acted in and I did the special effects for. And it was a feature. We were all there as a premiere in a theater, sold out theater, I think, or it was a lot of
Yeah.
people, it's 100 people.
Yeah.
And the movie's called Retro Freaks.
Everyone
And
should
it
see
was
it.
really, really good. And
Okay.
it was just a surreal, magical moment to like see myself
Oh,
on the
congratulations.
theater and my work. I was like, oh my God, this is what we're here for. Oh.
You're like, I could get used to this.
Yes, so they have a campaign right now. So if you go, you buy a copy, you're supporting them, and you get to support, what we're
Support
doing.
the arts,
So
yes.
yeah, it's crazy. That was a really fun experience.
That
so.
is, that's really dope.
Like,
Congratulations.
Thank you,
I don't know
thank
how
you.
I missed seeing that, but social media is weird right now. You don't see half the people
Yeah.
you follow unless you like go insert. So it
Yeah.
just is what it is. But now that I know, I will actually buy the download and watch it.
It's really funny.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
keep saying I think it's going to be like one of those cult classics.
oh, okay.
Yeah, my teacher is the one who brought me into the project, and the producer was like, "Oh yeah, you can totally act in it." So I'm not gonna say what happened, but yeah, I was in it, and things happened. Maybe I survived, maybe I didn't, but
Dun,
you gotta
dun,
find
dun.
out if you go on the link.
Well, yes, everyone, please go see Retro Freaks.
Yes.
And thank you, ladies, both of you for being
Thank
here.
you for having us.
Oh, he's already Googling it.
Wow.
My character's name is Connie. Yes.
No, like it doesn't look like indie. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, no,
It
it
is.
is.
It is
It's
good.
really.
Real quick look at it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the actual like real film.
It was like initially it was initially started as a short, and
Yeah.
then it just kept getting more and more interest, and then they were like, well, I guess they're gonna make a
Make it a
feature-length
feature.
film.
Yeah.
And they did really like the way that they were able to just make that and build a story. It was just really amazing to see. Everybody on the team was so amazing. They were so nice. It was just a really, really fun team. And it really showed us like that was a passion project. So there was no
Yeah.
money. People didn't like.
Oh,
I
that's
did
when
it
you
for
really
free.
do it just for the love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did it, and it looks great. And we're like,
Yeah.
oh man, we see
Yeah.
it firsthand. We're like, we could do this.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
shout out to you guys, Retro Freaks, Golderman, Dave,
Exactly.
everyone, Tiff. Yes, you guys are awesome.
We love you all.
We love y'all.
So what I'll do when we get your flyer together, your proper flyer, I'll post the link to Retro Freaks in the
Awesome.
caption
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
so that
yeah.
people can go directly to it because
Awesome.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, both
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank
for being
you.
here. And again, like I just realized what an honor it is to have someone say, like, we're gonna come from out of town to come and I really appreciate that.
Oh
it
no,
means a lot
yeah,
to
it
me.
was.
We're
And
so
I hope
grateful.
that we got to cover everything. But if we did not, I'm planning some things from next year. We'll have another chance to get together and talk about anything that we missed, and then whatever progress you've had or whatever projects you've had that have come to fruition. So
Hopefully we can
Awesome.
bring more of a team that we built, by
Exactly.
that time.
I would love that. You're
Yes.
welcome anytime. So I love that you just reached out because I wish more people would do that and just say like, hey, I have something really important to talk about. So kudos on you for taking the initiative and
Yes.
Answering
Yes,
DMs. I slid in the DM. I was like,
Bravo, Lonnie.
hopefully-
yeah, people check your DMs, which I'm horrible about. So I'm glad I saw that message. So thank you both.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you too. All right, thank you, ladies. Oh, this is
Appreciate it.
awesome.
Thanks.
I have to figure out a cool way to sign off because I'm always just like, yay!
Little jingle, jingle.